The Wells family had always dreamed of a little girl to complete their family. With three energetic sons, they longed for a daughter, and when Alice was born, their wish came true. Each family member had their own unique personality, yet they all shared a love for music. Alice, however, struggled with rhythm. Her passion was painting. Her parents marveled at her talent, wondering where it came from. Her artistic nature was also evident in her fashion choices, ragged denim and slouchy tops that set her apart. Spencer shared a deep bond with his sons and wished for the same with Alice. Annabelle, her loving mother, ensured Alice grew up surrounded by family who looked just like her. But despite the resemblance, Alice felt a growing curiosity about her roots. One day, she asked her mother about their family history. Annabelle hesitated before admitting she didn't know. Spencer had always been secretive. The answer left Alice unsettled, her father suddenly feeling like a stranger. One stormy evening, unable to shake her doubts, she gathered her courage and entered his study. Spencer glanced up, his voice steady but cautious. "Alice, what is it?" She hesitated. "Can you tell me about your family?" His face darkened. "Why would you ask me that?" His tone was sharp. Before she could respond, he grabbed her arm. "Never ask me that again," he warned. A chill ran down Alice's spine. Her father was hiding something she wasn't meant to know. Alice began to cry, wondering how she would find out the truth about herself. She was ready to give up the search, but decided to wait until evening to continue her quest. She knew her father had a habit of falling asleep after dinner, so she planned to explore the attic then. Taking advantage of the opportunity, she crept toward the attic. With a sense of daring, she opened the attic door and started her search. Alice quietly approached, peering up to see a massive padlock blocking her way. She couldn't recall seeing it before. Standing at the foot of the attic stairs, she wondered how she would get inside. She weighed her options. Either search for the key or venture into her father's study to find it. The thought of doing so filled her with dread. She had once stumbled upon a scene on TV where people were picking locks using only hairpins. It seemed far-fetched, but her curiosity got the best of her. She couldn't resist finding out if it could actually work, so she scoured the internet until she found a video tutorial. After memorizing the technique, she grabbed a ladder and scaled her way up to the padlock on the ceiling. It was now or never. The time had come to put her theory to the test. Alice watched in awe as the lock gave way and fell to the floor with a loud clang. Heart racing, she scurried back up the ladder and climbed into the attic. She made sure the ladder was in place so it wouldn't give her away, closed the hatch door behind her, and prayed that no one would think to look for her in this secret hiding spot. She crept through the room, shivering as chills settled in her bones. Her eyes darted around, searching for the elusive light switch. Trying her best to be quiet, she clicked the light on and was met with a strange sight. Boxes and locked chests littered the room. She couldn't help but feel a twinge of confusion as she opened a few boxes only to find them empty. Finally, she spotted a suitcase with her name written on it, but when she tried to open it, she found it was locked. Having always been handy with hairpins, she quickly retrieved the one she had taken with her. With a flick of her wrist, the lock clicked open, and Alice peered inside. Her eyes grew wide with surprise as she saw that the suitcase was filled with papers and pictures. She couldn't understand why her father would hide these precious memories. Once upon a time, there was a woman who stumbled upon some old family photos. As she sifted through them, she came across baby and school photos that she had never seen before. Strangely, she couldn't recall them being taken and felt so young in the pictures. She wondered why her mother would have hidden these memories from her. Determined to find out the truth, she felt that the papers seemed important, and she was curious about what they could be. As she dug deeper into the box, she discovered there was even more to uncover. Eagerly, she opened the binder. However, as she started to read, she realized that the contents were jumbled. The binder was filled with a long list of names, and Alice couldn't figure out what it was all about. Alice sat at her desk, flipping through the pages of the binder. Her eyes scanned the names, searching for her own, but it was nowhere to be found. Confident that she had found everything she needed, she hastened her steps back to her room. Now she knew it was time to start searching for answers. She laid out the pictures and scanned through the binder for a second time. Alice felt she was missing something. She needed answers. Should she ask her mom or her father? Ultimately, she decided to ask her mom. Facing her fear, Alice called for her mom to come to her room. When her mom arrived and saw the mess, both women realized something. Alice's mom had no idea what was going on either. She had never seen these photos and had no idea what the binder was for. They were both confused. Alice's mom wanted to tell her husband right away, but Alice convinced her to keep it a secret until they had more answers. With no more options, Alice decided to get a DNA test, not just one test, but one for everyone in the family. This would prove harder than she thought. Alice's mother agreed to take the DNA test, and after some persuasion, her brothers agreed too. However, her father was not about to agree to a test, so Alice had to wait until he was asleep. She knew this was risky. She would have to swab his mouth with a cotton swab, which was sure to wake him up. To Alice's surprise, he slept through it. She had managed to collect the DNA without waking him and could finally send the test back to the lab. It would take a couple of weeks to get the results. Alice was nervous about the results, but wanted them more than anything. She woke up with a knot in her stomach, knowing that today she'd finally get the answers. She tiptoed to the front door, waiting for the mailman. She had to get to the results before her father did. He was known to be overprotective, and she didn't want to risk him destroying the contents before she had a chance to see what was inside. She heard the sound of the mailman approaching and held her breath, shaking as she clutched the envelope, feeling its weight press against her fingers. Inside were the results for all 6 family members. With a deep breath, she tore open the envelope and spread the papers out on her bed. She began with her mother's results, scanning the lines for any sign of hope. As she worked her way through each sheet, she felt her heart racing. Finally, she reached her own results. Alice's family was a tight-knit group, and she had always assumed that her parents and brothers were all blood relatives. However, as she grew older, she began to question whether her place in the family was real. She started to feel like everything she had known was a lie. As she read through the report, she was in complete disbelief. Her whole world was turned upside down. The results exposed a truth Alice never could have imagined. Staring at the DNA test, her hands trembled. Shock washed over her. She had always suspected she wasn't her father's biological daughter, but nothing could have prepared her for this. Her mother wasn't her real mother either. Clutching the papers, she rushed downstairs, tears streaming down her face. Desperate for answers, she confronted her parents, but Annabelle was just as stunned as she was. Then Spencer finally spoke, his voice heavy with a secret he had carried for years. "Alice, I've known since the day you were born. You were switched at birth." His confession shattered everything she thought she knew. He had stayed silent, afraid of breaking the bond between Alice and the woman who had raised her. But fate had other plans. Among Spencer's belongings, Alice discovered a binder. Inside, the names of her birth parents. The reunion that followed was overwhelming, emotions running high as she met the family she had never known. Yet, despite everything, her heart remained tethered to the woman who had raised her. No matter where life took her, their bond remained unbreakable, a love that endured forever.